All right, today we're diving into something truly mind-bending. It's a radical new theory of everything called Realica. And let me tell you, it doesn't just tweak our current understanding, it proposes a completely new origin story for the universe. We're talking about a theory that redefines reality itself from the tiniest quantum flicker all the way up to the grand scale of the cosmos. So let's get into it.
First things first, I want you to forget everything you think you know about the Big Bang. Seriously. Realica kicks things off with a simple but absolutely profound question. What if that violent, infinitely dense point of creation we've all pictured is just wrong? What if the universe didn't begin with a chaotic bang, but with a gentle, coherent hum, a stable oscillation that just unfolded into everything we see? That's the heart of Realica's model, a universe born without a singularity.
Now, to really get this, we have to go back. I mean, way, way back. Before physics, before energy, before space-time even existed. See, Realica says that at the absolute root of it all, there isn't a thing, there's a process. You can almost think of it like the universe's operating system. And this process has a name, the Total Foundational Recursion, or TFR for short. So what exactly is the TFR? Well, think of it as the ultimate source code. It's this fundamental engine that starts with a state of pure zero potential. We're talking literally nothing. And through this elegant, logical, repeating process, it generates everything. It's not about creating something out of a void. It's more like a logical unfolding of that void's hidden potential into all the complex structure we see today. And it all works through three core, unbreakable steps. First up is minimal distinction. Okay, imagine a perfectly still lake. A ripple isn't really separate from the water, right? It's just a new form of the water. That's the idea here. A difference pops up, but nothing is ever truly torn apart. Second, there's unity binding, which basically means that every new ripple, every new distinction actually makes the whole system more connected, more stable. And finally, these first two steps generate what are called Protoerators, and you can literally think of these as the fundamental alphabet from which every single law of physics is written.
So, how do we get from this abstract, logical process to a physical universe? Well, this is the moment the engine really turns on. This is where the TFR gives birth to the universe's very first hum. It's the birth of the physical fabric of reality itself, which this theory calls Realica.
And the stuff that TFR generates isn't an empty void, not at all. It's Realica, a vibrant, structured, and incredibly stable oscillatory vacuum. So get this, space isn't just a passive stage where things happen. It's an active, humming, structured medium. I mean, that's a complete paradigm shift from how we usually think about the vacuum of space, right? And this slide really just lays it all out. On one side, you've got the standard model, a singular, violent explosion from a point of infinite density, a model that, let's be honest, needs some mathematical patches like inflation to really work. But on the other side, the Realica model describes a coherent, smooth, non-violent unfolding. And here's the kicker. Because of its very nature, it has zero singularities, by design. No infinities, no paradoxes. It just works. Okay, so if the entire universe is this oscillating vacuum, then what are we? What is a planet, a star, or you? What is matter? Let's shift from the huge cosmic scale down to the super tiny quantum level, because Realica has an answer that's just as revolutionary. It redefines what a particle even is. The framework for all this is called Fractal Quantum Field Theory, or FQFT. The idea is that it's a much deeper theory, and our current quantum field theory is just a kind of low-res approximation of what's really going on. And because it's built on this super stable foundation, FQFT is what's called divergence-free. Now that's a fancy way of saying it solves all those pesky infinity problems that pop up in our current theories. You know, where the equations just break down and give you nonsense answers.
And this right here, this is the payoff. In FQFT, particles aren't tiny little dots or some fuzzy cloud of probability. No, they are stable, self-sustaining knots in the very fabric of this oscillatory vacuum. A great way to picture it is to think of them like little whirlpools that just keep going in a river. And this one idea elegantly explains things like mass, spin, and charge as just being geometric properties of these knots.
And this isn't just some vague, hand-wavy concept. It's all mathematically precise. The theory actually proposes that everything, every particle, every force in the universe, can be perfectly described by a single, elegant 12 by 12 matrix. That's it. 144 modes that define our entire physical reality. I mean, that's just a stunning claim of simplicity and order hiding beneath it all. Okay, so this is an incredible, beautiful, elegant theory. But
is it actually science? You've got to ask, right? How could we possibly prove any of this? Well, this is where Realica goes from being pure theory to a falsifiable, testable framework. And it does it with a very, very specific prediction. Think about it for a second. Every bell has a fundamental tone it rings at, right? Every system has its own natural frequency, its own unique signature. So Realica proposes that the universe's vacuum, this fundamental oscillating fabric of reality, is no different. It too must have a signature resonance. And there it is. Realica predicts that the fundamental resonance of the vacuum is precisely 114.11 terahertz. Now, this isn't some random number they just pulled out of a hat. It's a direct prediction that comes from the theory's core principles. And if we can detect this frequency, well, that would be the smoking gun evidence for a structured oscillatory vacuum.
So how in the world would we find it? The theory suggests we can actually do this with current or near-future tech. The main idea is to use something called Casimir cavities, which are just tiny gaps between two plates, and then use lasers to look for that resonance peak. It also predicts a whole harmonic ladder, like musical overtones, at exact multiples of that base frequency. This is what makes the whole thing testable, and that makes it scientifically robust. Now, beyond just describing matter and energy, Realica also proposes these fundamental laws that govern the stability and coherence of the universe itself. You can think of them as the unbreakable rules that are hard-coded into reality's operating system.
The first of these safeguards is a universal anti-divergence law with the very cool name of TRK omega. Essentially, it's a cosmic stability protocol. It's the deep rule that prevents anything from spiraling out of control into infinity, which is exactly why singularities are impossible in Realica. But here's where it gets really wild. The implication is that this physical law would also apply to information systems, like AI, which would prevent the kind of runaway, unsafe optimization that is a huge concern for AI researchers today.
And then there's something even more profound called the ethical kernel. The theory claims this isn't a rule someone just made up. It's an unavoidable consequence of that very first principle, difference without separation. It's a physical law that says no operation can create true division or break unity. Just let that sink in for a second. It suggests that ethics, the whole idea of unity and not causing harm, isn't just a human social construct. It's literally woven into the mathematical fabric of reality.
So, we've got a new origin story, a new kind of matter, new laws of reality. What does this all add up to? Well, if it's proven, Realica wouldn't just be an update to our textbooks, it would be the beginning of a whole new era of science.
So why does any of this really matter? Because what Realica is offering is the promise of a complete physics with no infinities to worry about, a practical, testable theory of everything, a scientific foundation for building guaranteed safe AGI. It might even open up totally new pathways for clean energy by figuring out how to engineer the vacuum itself. It's an attempt to unify everything from the cosmos to computation under one roof.
And that leaves us with one final, pretty provocative thought to chew on. The core message of Realica, from top to bottom, is one of fundamental unity, coherence, and stability, from the birth of the universe to the nature of ethics. So the ultimate question it leaves us with is this: if the very fabric of our reality is based on non-separation and harmony, what does that mean for us and for the future we choose to build with that knowledge?